Greetings gamers everywhere, I'm Super92 and I'm coming here with a question for you all. How to play Soulstone Survivors? Should you use a controller or is the keyboard the way to go? Now, I'm asking this question because I've been playing both ways and I've been playing the game since launch. I have a little over 160 hours in the game. Mostly I've been playing with keyboard and mouse, but I have asked the question, is there an advantage to using the controller? Because the game is fully supported. You can go through the whole game with only a controller without any big issues. Now I do prefer to use a mouse with the menus, the main menu, but a controller while playing, yeah, no problem. Now of course it's gonna take a little bit of playing to get used to. But other than that, I mean, it's fully playable with a controller. Now the question is there an advantage to it? Now that is the biggest question. Many roguelikes that have this kind of controller recommended is because it's either easier to do with a controller or it's just made for controller, you could say. I guess you could say that they're made for controllers, and that makes them easier to play with a controller. Some games barely have any keyboard and mouse playability, I would say, with keyboard and mouse for some controller recommended games. Soulstone Survivors, is that one of them? Well, I would say not really, not in the big picture at least. But there is one big advantage with the controller that keyboard and mouse does not have. Player control. And once I say player control, I should rephrase that really. Sorry. Character movement. The character you're playing is of course your character, and he can move in a lot of different directions with WASD. Holding down W and D or W and A will make him go diagonally in one way or another, or SD and AS, of course. Now, with that, he can move in 8 different directions with keyboard and mouse. With a controller, however, of course, you can move all 8 directions with a controller as well. But I would say that the movement is much more precise. Now this of course might depend a little bit on your controller. You could have some drifting issues, you can have other issues or whatever. But I would say that the controller has a much better way of moving. You have a much better way of moving your character with a controller than with keyboard and mouse. Plus you can also react a lot quicker. I would argue that it's quicker to move with a controller with the stick than using WASD. I feel it's much more comfortable moving in all 8 directions with a controller. Now another way that the controller is preferable is actually, I would say, when aiming. If you have a very directional build where they have lasers and frontal attacks and such, using the stick, your right stick, to aim with is preferable in a way, because with the mouse you can easily aim, of course, in the direction you want. But unless you're keeping track of where you're actually aiming, which isn't completely easy in the chaos that is Soulstone Survivors, because enemies explode, things are exploding everywhere, things are happening on the screen, you know? So you don't always know where you're aiming, especially if you get pushed around or something happens to your character. But with your controller, you always know which direction you're aiming, because you know which way you are pushing the stick. You know you're pushing up, down, left, right, diagonally, you know. Doesn't matter. You know which way you are pushing the stick, which makes it so that you know exactly where you're aiming. Now the downside to using the controller as aiming is that you always need to push your stick in a direction, and if you happen to like offset your thumb a little bit, you could actually shoot something or miss the thing you want to shoot. For example, if you want to aim at a Titan or at a Lord of the Void, and you actually aim it a little bit off and you shoot something else, you could get killed or you could get hit by something that you don't want to get hit by. Now, as for movement with a controller, you might be thinking, why, what about dodging while aiming and such? Don't you do that with on A, B, or any of the face buttons? No, you do not. Right bumper is actually the dodge button, which makes it so that you can move, aim, and dodge very effectively and very easily. Now, I'm not gonna get into details about choosing skills and such with the controller, because that's mostly something you have to get used to, but it works quite well. Now, I have had issues where I've accidentally pressed some A button a little bit too quickly and done the wrong thing. That's just something you get used to, so I won't get into that. I guess all of this can be boiled down to you'll get used to it. It's like riding a bike. You'll get used to it. I also want to emphasize that controller is, in some small ways, superior to keyboard and mouse. With that said, I'm probably gonna play this game, or rather, the few times I will play this game, I'm probably gonna play it with keyboard and mouse. Of course, as you can see in the gameplay, I am playing with controller, but this is mostly for show, just to show you that it is possible and that it works very well. I'm never gonna say the controller is the way to go with Soulstone Survivors, but I do find controller being a very strong candidate, or a very strong... I mean, if someone said to me, I'm using a controller to play Soulstone Survivors, I'd be like, oh, nice, cool, okay, moving on. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If someone told me though that I'm using a keyboard and mouse when I play Elden Ring, I would be like, why? Why though? Why would you use keyboard and mouse to play Elden Ring or any Dark Souls, really? Or people who are on PC and playing first-person shooters like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Back 4 Blood, or any other first-person shooter with keyboard and mouse, or with a controller. I would be like, don't you have greater control with a keyboard and mouse? I mean, technically, I guess it's the same thing there with movement, at least, that you have possibly a superior movement with a controller, but your aiming is gonna take a big hit. In Soulstone Survivors, aiming is not that super important, depending on the build, but generally it's not so important that it's gonna make or break you if you are slightly off. My biggest issue, I guess, with controller is that if you have drifting issues, yeah, you're gonna have a problem. Yeah, that's all I got for this video. I've been Swift92. Have a great life and I'll see you in future videos. What do you think of using controllers in Soulstone Survivors? Have you tried it? Well, if you haven't, I say give it a go and see what you think. Bye bye.